set. Sorry.
We gotta get up there.
And I think we're fine. Just even wait another 5 minutes to start.
We're on live right now.
But we're gonna wait for everybody to trickle in another 5 minutes.
No. I'm not going to use this because it didn't turn out. So I'm just going to see it at this point. Watch me.
Watch me forget everything that I was saying.
Already set up and came down.
Do you want to, right now, do you want to log into both stuff? And since I'm on that computer now, I can't mask it until I get on. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Because I'm on, I have my stuff on here. Okay. But I don't. Okay, cool. Because of what I'm going to talk about. So on the assignment, so on the assignment side, what do you want me to show on the assignment? Just that there's a way of creating assignments and attaching without going into it. So what I tried to do is I tried to go into my elements page, copy the assignment over, and it didn't work.
I would just say, when your computer is comfortable, there is a way for you to start building assignments and have those like turned in on it.
Okay, okay.
A lot of people find it hard because they have all the documents in place. I would just, a lot of that takes so long to get done. Or to even touch base on it, it would be longer than tonight. So
It would.
I would just touch on it.
Yes.
Quickly.
Okay.
I don't think.
No, I do. I was like, oh my God. It's like,
And then I felt
what am I
like,
going to
I
say?
agree
Yeah.
that
So I'll just talk about where they can locate under the content blocks and what they can do and what they use polls for.
Okay.
And then I'll just show them the example of, because there's really only under
Are
the
you still
content
going to show
block.
the example for discussion board?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show hers
Yeah.
and then how the students responded.
Yeah, no, I
and
think
that
that was
there's
powerful.
and there's a way of, the students responded to each other. But
I probably have to tell them we're live streaming. Just think
I think you should, just so
are we
everybody's
on?
aware.
Yeah.
What time will we start?
some of the
Matt said 5 minutes late.
Okay. So I thought
You guys on vibrate?
schools were not supposed to be
just middle school.
Right.
Just middle.
not here. I didn't know because I didn't.
You didn't come to the thing. You were off. I don't know.
No, your high school's here. Which one? Southside. Oh no, it's Diana's. So what? That's what I'm saying. Is like I didn't tell my high school.
That's okay though.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay. So it was K through 8.
Yeah. Have a seat for me, though, right? Where is this like?
Two hours and 10 minutes.
You gotta leave after an hour, don't you? Should we do your part first?
No, I don't have to.
My part is part of turning on to
Hey, how about I twist the sleeve?
okay.
That way you're not that's not. Are you doing that? Yeah?
Yep.
I see here, Matt.
Thank you.
Is that cool?
Yeah. You can tell it. This isn't a Christmas.
I'll grab a
Huh? Yeah.
I think I invited her.
Trains down there because
Let's just set them over there. When they come and we open it. Nope, that's it. One
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming.
We really wanted to squeeze this into to this last quarter here before we got over Christmas break. So I appreciate you guys all coming. I appreciate what you do. Our goal for this is, our boss told us we had to do this once a quarter. So once every quarter, we're going to plan a technology group like this where we all come together. We're actually live streaming this as well, but it's not actually out on the web right now. We're just saving it. Our goal is so that we can, rather than all of us get together, if we have one tool that we want to work on, one technology tool, that we can just live stream it and you guys can watch that from your school. So you don't have to come down here and try to find a parking spot that's on the other side of downtown. So that's the frustration of FACE. So that's our goal. So we'll be recording this just so we know how to do the live streaming and stuff like that. My name is Steve Armstrong. I'm the District Technology Coordinator for the Wayne family. So all of the schools that feed through Wayne, kindergarten on up, actually I have a bunch as well. So I'm the coordinator for that family. And this is Shannon.
I'm Shannon Quigley, and I am the coordinator for the North Side schools.
Matt Brandenberger, and I'm with the Snyder family, so Lane, Blackhawk Middle, and all the elementaries that feed in there.
Rick Herber, Northrop family.
Good. All right, and then Diana Fulton. Diana is our South Side family coordinator. So if you worked with her, she's not here today. She got sick, so we all wanted to be sick, but that wouldn't work out. So, and Rick's always sick. So, what we're gonna do today, if you guys have your laptops, which most of you do, we're gonna talk about the LMS for a majority of today, the learning management system, so PowerSchool. So that's where we're gonna start navigating to, and so that'll take a big chunk of what we're doing, and then we'll get into 3 or 4 different quick resources that we have that you guys can send back and show real quick if you want to at your school PL or anything like that. So majority of what we're going to do is talk about the LMS. So is everybody able to get to this page so far? All right. So anybody not, just raise your hand. I'll give you a second. Where? Andrew? Okay. Yep. So where is a good question. So if we're on that main, anytime you hit that P up in the top there, I always go to extras right down here under my portal. There's a couple different ways to get there. And then we have technology resources. You'll probably find your curriculum inside of there as well. But we want to click on that technology resources tab. And that's going to take us to this main page. And then we'll navigate you through it. But we're going to scroll down here to Building Technology Coordinators.
Sub-page under elements.
And then right under that is LMS, right?
It's all of them.
It's all or
It's
none.
all or
so
nothing.
but
We can
could
try
do-
it.
we could
Let's
do
try
that.
it. I actually think the projector's out of focus, so if you look at the monitors, they're not. I don't think it'll change it. So did everybody get to that page? Are we good there? So this is a page that us 5 district technology coordinators created. And this is where we're going to put resources for technology. So new things that we're doing, any announcements or anything like that. We'll still connect with you verbally, but this is where we're going to land those. And over in the left side here, in the left column, Shannon's kind of got them broken up into different resources. So if you have questions about Clever, PowerSchool, Pinnacle, we've broken them down into pages on that left side. But for right now, I'm going to be in that LMS tab down at the bottom. The reason that we got this LMS is in the past we've used a couple different programs. We've used Edmodo, we've used Microsoft Classroom, then Microsoft changed the name on us and changed that. Then we used Microsoft OneNote, all these different programs for some kind of digital environment for our students to go to. And the reason we're starting this now, we're a year and a half away from being a one-to-one, so one device per every student. In our elementaries, we're one-to-one K through 5 right now. So every elementary class should have a PC for every student in their class, and they should also have an iPad in K2 for every student. So we just finished a big iPad order, so we're there. So now over the next year and a half, we're going to get to one-to-one in our secondary schools. So as we get there, we needed a place for students and teachers to go to share assignments, polls, to do different technology things, and so the LMS gives us that. There were a couple of them that we looked at: Canvas, Blackboard. Blackboard's really popular, like in post high school, college. We chose PowerSchool because it's going to tie in really well with our grading system. So in the future, we're hoping that when you put an assignment or something on PowerSchool here, you could just drop a grade into it, and it would take you there. So that's why we're doing this, to give the teachers a place to have that digital realm. And we have a couple of examples we'll show later for that. So right now what we're going to do is over in the right, I have this poll here. It should say LMS at your school. And what I'm going to have you guys do, did everybody see that? Is it there? Just give us a little bit of feedback. What are some ways you've seen the learning management system work in your school? So you may not personally have used it, but you've seen teachers use it, or maybe you have. We hope that you have. So have you posted assignments? Have they used polls? Use that other tab there. If I get all I don't knows, then I did multiple choice, so you can choose multiple things on this. I'll just quit right now, but no, I'm kidding. So put in there some of the things that you would be interested in under that other tab, if there are any for that. So I'll give you a couple minutes to do that.
I think if you run it now, okay, then maybe it'll use Wisconsin. Yeah.
Good.
Refresh.
Before you look at the details and just do it one more time.
Yep.
Okay. Probably good.
All right, so as I look at this, posting assignments is obviously a big one, probably, what, 25%. Creating web links, that's one I always share out. Rick's going to kind of go over a little bit of that when he does his part, but web links are great for K2. Rather than having that long URL to a website, you can just create a short link to it. And then sharing resources with curriculum. As curriculum starts to turn everything digital, we'll be able to bring that right over into the LMS. So one of our goals in bringing you guys all together, probably our main goal, is we want to kind of change a little bit of what you're doing in the building, and that is to be more of a help with integrating technology into what teachers are using in the classroom. So I know in the past, a lot of times it's been, you know, so-and-so teacher has a projector that doesn't work, or their laptops aren't working, or they're missing one or something like that. Those technical things, we really want to be called into the help desk. Just tell the teacher, hey, just call that into the help desk, get a ticket for it. This past year, we hired a few more network techs, so we have, like, elementary schools have one network tech for every 2 to 3 buildings. Middle school, we had some network techs that had 4 buildings, now they only have 2 at the most, and then high school has 1 dedicated. So we really want them to take care of all the hardware, you know, troubleshooting, all that stuff. You guys really helping us with integrating technology and curriculum together so that teachers know how to use technology in their classroom. So that's kind of the why, that's where we're going, that's how we want you guys to help us, and we want to be able to help you with that as well. So we've broken this down, we sat down with curriculum, they kind of wanted to see how teachers are using this and at what scale they're using it at. And obviously with anything we've ever done in technology, we have some that don't know what the LMS is yet, and some that have used a lot. And so we've broken it down into 3 different tiers. Our goal is to obviously get everybody to tier 3, where they're using assignments, polls, and everything in their classroom. But we've been concentrating our PL on at least getting them to that first step. And that's what Shannon is, actually Matt's gonna talk to us about, is tier 1.
So as Steve said, we're kind of focusing now on these 3 different tiers. And when we first started doing some of our professional learning at buildings at the beginning of the year, if you came to any of the sessions over the summer, it was kind of fire hose of everything that the LMS could do. And over the summer, in a 3-4 hour period of time, that worked out great. But when we would come to a 40-minute PL in the mornings and try to show you everything that you could do in there, it didn't go great. So we kind of took that and broke it down into what we've called these 3 tiers. And that's what we're going to focus on quite a bit today. You'll see those here, level 1, level 2, and level 3. The first one being that informational level. And that's just where I think of it kind of as a class page where the teacher's putting biographical information about themselves, resources for what information they might want to give to students, to parents in their classroom. It's just really all about information. Then that second tier is where you start to bring some of the curriculum in, but we're talking more about like YouTube videos or text from the curriculum that was developed over the summer that is just a way to give that information out. It's consumable is what we'll refer to that second tier as. They're seeing the material, they're not necessarily interacting with it, but they're consuming it. And then that third tier is really where the interaction comes in. And that's where you have assignments, you have polls, you have wiki projects, different things that it's really taking the learning and moving it into the digital environment. So those of you that have gotten your master's or have taken courses online, if you're younger and you just went through school, you probably used Blackboard or Canvas or an LMS like that. That's really what an LMS is designed for, right? It's not just to be a storehouse for the curriculum. It's to really take the curriculum and integrate it with what we're trying to do. So that's kind of our end goal of what we want to do, is get everybody to that third tier where they're not only using the LMS, but they're using it to make things better. And kind of an aha that we've had even in the last month or so is we've been talking about these tiers, and hopefully you've at least heard some of that at your building, but we don't want to forget the SAMR model. And we've talked a little bit about SAMR over the years. Just a show of hands, how many people when I say SAMR know what I'm talking about, or at least have heard that? And you know what, that's not surprising to me that there's not that many hands that went up. And that's something that we're going to be probably talking about more and more, especially in these times that we get together as coordinators, because what that SAMR model is really showing is that we don't want to just take the technology, even at tier 3, okay, even at tier 3 where you're handing an assignment out and students are doing the assignment and turning that back in. Really, that's just what the bottom level of the SAMR model is. That's the substitution level. It's just replacing a piece of paper with doing it online. And that's all well and good, and yes, we want to get there, but eventually what we want to do is get to those other levels. The A stands for augmentation, the M for modification, and ultimately that redefinition is where we want to go. Taking the technology and utilizing it in ways that transform the learning that you couldn't have done otherwise, that no piece of paper and pencil would be able to do. So that's really kind of ultimately what our goal is. And so I just, just a quick plug to say that as we talk about these tiers, our ultimate goal is to really, in FWCS, using technology, redefine the learning, not just get people to use the technology. So we're going to kind of now go into looking at those 3 different tiers. Shannon's going to take the first couple and talk you through those.
Okay.
Oh man, I just messed up the live stream.
Okay.
All right.
Well, as Matt said, that if you're looking for a more concrete document that he just described, if you click on this P Learning, that will take you to you should download a copy of our level. So if you are wanting to take this back to your building and share, or just for your own sake of understanding what exactly is encompassed in those 3 levels, this is a document you can use there. So I'm going to kind of go through what our model for these next 3 sections are going to be, and we're going to share some examples, give you some time to talk with people at your table of things you've seen in your building, and then give you a way to share out information around that level. So when we think about level 1, the informational level, and if you're following along on your screen on the left-hand panel, you can click on the informational page.
And it's going to take you to some examples of welcome pages that we've developed. And we've been to a lot of buildings and done this first level, so if we've been out at your school, you probably have a basic understanding of what the purpose of this is. But really what we're hoping for when we talk about informational level is this is a place where all the stakeholders in your classroom or in your school can come to one place to find information about what's happening. So parents, other teachers that you've added to your class, your students, can come here, and the best way I've kind of heard this described is that we want to get to a place where it's such an ingrained part of our school system that when a parent calls the office and asks, I heard in Mrs. Quigley's class that they're having pajama day, is that true? The first thing the secretary could say is, have you checked their PowerSchool page? So that it is such a resource that it's being updated, that it's something that's routine for parents and students to go to. So we've got some great examples of people already doing things like this. So on the screen you're going to see some examples, and I'm just going to kind of walk through what they are. This is a 4th grade classroom at Forest Park, and the teacher has a welcome page that every day when the kids come into her class, the first thing they do is check in with, one, how they're feeling, so the teacher gets a baseline of what they feel like their day is, and this is a good relationship piece, so if somebody marks something like they're jealous or disappointed, she can go in and check in with them right away, or when she gets a moment, she knows something's going on with that student. But it also gives things like a calendar or the menu for parents to quickly get to and check in, or even students if they want to know what's for lunch today. You don't have to spend that time necessarily broadcasting it. They can just go in and check in the morning. So this is really just pure information that's not necessarily related to content. We also have a 1st grade teacher who's using it kind of in a similar way. She's got information about herself, a calendar that's updated for her class, and again, announcements that she keeps updating so that parents, again, know what's happening in their class. One thing that if you haven't seen on our resource page, we have a section where teachers can submit ideas, and this one was submitted, and it's really a great one. If you are struggling with getting parents accessing your site, the same teacher created a separate sheet on her own that kind of sold it a little bit better than the letter that just gives them 2 codes for PowerSchool and Pinnacle. So she created her own sheet that gives a little screenshot of her page, encourages parents to go there and log in, but it's something that we're going to have to continually work at different ways to get our parents signed on. So every time you have them in for a conference, offer them the ability to sign up. When you have a parent night, maybe have a station set up where they could log in and create those, because we want this welcome page to be the first thing that they see. Okay, so those are just some examples. And the last thing I want to just remind those secondary classes is that if you have a teacher who's teaching 4 periods of science, remind them that they do not have to create that welcome page or some of that content 4 times. This page just shows them that we can create manual classes and link all of their sections to it, so they only have to create that content once and link all their pages to it. We can also save that at the end of the year, the end of the semester, and so next year that content can remain and you don't have to recreate the wheel every year. Okay. So go ahead and take a minute if you want to look through that screen again, and then at the bottom we have an embedded Padlet that if you want to just share one thing that either you see on these pages that you could take back and share as an idea to your staff, that you could say this would be a great thing to include on your informational level pages, or something that you've seen in your building that you think other people would benefit from, if you just hit the little pen at the bottom, you should be able to add a comment to the Padlet. So we'll give you just about 2 minutes to either talk and share or add something to our Padlet wall. Is our not roll on with that?
Like I teach a class that says semester. It changes because like the page I've created, I'll have to do that again for next semester. But it's a whole different group of kids. Like it's a different like in my class, it's right, but it would be a totally separate class. Well, the class will, but I'm saying the page, like that I create. I know what'll be there, I'll just have to maybe link it to the new class.
So like since they teach different,
Like I can do different semesters, so I have a new class coming in January. My homepage won't be there for them, but I can link it to my past homepage because it's the same class. thought about that too. Yeah.
And we'll get more information on how to do that.
Okay.
We need to do that.
Right.
In context with our school.
And I think I'm the only semester teacher doing that.
Okay.
So my building anyway right now. So
Okay, well, we'll get into it then.
I would say I'll have that help me. Yeah. Yeah, because I've been using it, posting assignments and kids turn in work, and so.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and keep moving along, but as you're looking on this screen, you should be able to, I'll use my teacher skills here, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's a good one. Everything in one place.
Oh, yeah, this is a good idea for everything for parents, everything in one place. So even if you were doing a lesson and you could embed a Padlet at the end, if you were doing just like we did and scrolled through a screen, and when your students got to the end, you could have that embedded Padlet where they could give an answer, and it was easy to do and easy that kids are not being sent to other sites to do it. So that's a great thing about Power Schools, that we can embed a lot of features within. Okay? Because we're going to move along to that second level of usage, and that is consumable. And so if you could click on the tab for consumable, if you're following along, you can. And this is really just an extension of the informational level, but the difference is now that we are moving into student usage and student content that will help support the curriculum. So real quick, just one example. I know if you are in elementary or first grade, you know that this week in their ELA units, they've been talking about Mexico and comparing countries. So one of the things that the curriculum asked them to do was have maps available for students to be able to see the country, and that could be really a foreign concept to a lot of our students who have not left the city, left the state. So one thing that Power School makes easy to do is you can embed a map. So not only the map of the city, which they can scroll around, get a view of where that is in the world. It's right there on the page, so every student could be manipulating this at a different time. If right below it, to go even farther, if you post a link on Street View, you can send students to Mexico City, where they could be put in different areas. They could scroll around. You could have them do collaborative learning about what they see in that area. And again, this is all right there on one page, where they're not having to use a QR code to navigate anywhere. It's something that they can do through Power School. So again, this is different than informational, because now you're taking something that was content driven and focusing student learning digitally. So that was just one quick example. We've got some other, again, good examples from some classes within our district. Here's a 5th grade teacher at Harris who has a lot of resources for all of the different areas she teaches, but this one is just a general link page to a lot of different things that students might need. So you can see when they're doing their civil rights unit, she's got all of the links where she wants students to get the information from. So again, they're not going out to the wild web and finding it on their own. They're kind of given some quality resources that they can find that are supporting what she wants them to do. We've talked a lot about how this is beneficial for those grades where kids can really have the skills to navigate, but there are teachers that are using this for 1st grade, kindergarten, and here's an example of a kindergarten teacher who has, again, very simply taken the books that they've read and made units on the side so that she has all of the books that they can just go to YouTube and listen to. So if they have a reading station set up, they can hear the story that they read, and then maybe on a separate piece of paper they're doing their response. So with that, one of the challenges that we've heard with the curriculum of not everybody having a copy of a text or having the story in their hands, this is a great way that you can get that in front of kids. So if there's a document that you can download from the curriculum, so if it's a reading passage, you can download it and save it to your computer, and then just upload it for students to have at their seat. So now everybody does have a copy in their hands of the text that they can have. So that's just another way to bring content to students that's curriculum related. So we're going to give you a couple minutes to share maybe some ways that you could see this being content related, and then again, there's just another way that you could embed something for student information. So there's just a little form at the bottom. If you could please, we're not grading your responses, but if you could type your name, this will also count as our sign-in sheet. So if you could type your name, and then just one way you think that this level of implementation could help support student learning in the curriculum. working on revisions, are they going to kind of consider tools that the LMS has available to be included? And the answer is, our hope is yes, we're going to be a part of that process so that some of these tools will be more embedded within the curriculum writing so that it will be a natural fit with what you're working on. Okay? Yep.
Are you talking to the curriculum people through this time too? Because like one unit we did, there were a lot of PDFs of passages they should read.
Yep.
And you could put them in the LMS, but you couldn't do just, or at least I couldn't figure out how to only do part of the passage. And so the PDF had like an answer sheet to questions or something like that. So it was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that would be a great feed. He asked, are we working with curriculum as issues that are technically related? Yes, if you are posting that or sharing with them, they can reach out to us. They right now are managing some of that PDF upload. So if they haven't shared that concern with us, I don't know that we have known that was an issue. But if you want to reach out to one of us and let us know too, that would help us be able to better work with them too.
And I think our hope is, as the curriculum writing continues next summer and these tools become more known throughout the district, that we'll be able to utilize them more to make them work.
Are we working towards paperless activities where if we upload a PDF, the kids can write, or upload a document, the kids can write on it and repost it or resend it back to where there doesn't have to be a print? Or do we already have that capability?
Who wants that one?
There is an ability for you to upload an assignment in if it is written as a editable PDF that's already posted on the curriculum, they can turn it in that way. There is not currently a way for kids to annotate, write on something and send it back, but we are in the process of exploring options to make that happen.
Because we find with like math worksheets and stuff, I'm sure that's what you're thinking is how do you do equations and different things like that.
I'm just thinking of we've got a lot of our teachers have asked for the ability to post an assignment for them to actually fill it out and send it out without having to print off a copy of it and fill it out. That way we can get away from paper. But
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things that are available to do that, but not everything yet. Okay.
So the third part,
Rick, any other questions right there before Rick goes into 3?
So we will have more time at the end.
yeah,
Yeah,
right at the
yeah,
end, so.
Okay.
So the third part we want to cover is that interactive part. So if you want to follow along with me and select that interactive tab, the interactive side of it is really where the teacher and students can really start to communicate in a digital manner. And they can do this through the polls, discussion boards, wikis, and the digital assignment. So somebody asked in the back before, is there a way of doing that? Well, if you had a Word document and you save that Word document, you could upload that Word document in the assignment, so that would give the students a way to actually type on their text. So if you were doing a language arts assignment on compare and contrast or narrative writing or something like that, they would be able to respond back as their own, submit that work to the teacher themselves. Okay. So what we want to look at a little bit here is the discussion boards. And what can discussion boards actually be used for? They help build connections. They empower a student voice. They can be used for formatively assessing students on how they're doing. It allows them to reflect on their learning, and it can actually be a tool for peer review from the students itself. So some of the things to think about is the best practices behind it, the professionalism behind it. Kids, make sure you're not typing what you don't need to type. Be aware of what you're typing at all times. Be that good digital citizen. Within the discussion board itself, when you create that discussion board, you want to make sure that there's a rubric available so that the students understand how they'll be graded on it. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you are asking open-ended questions so there's actually a good response. There are different ways of setting up your discussion boards where you can actually say, make sure a student responds or answers before they actually see the rest of the respondents of the students out there. I want to go ahead and I want to take a look at one of the examples that we have of a fourth grade teacher that has been using discussion boards since start of the school. I need to masquerade here though as somebody. Okay, we have like admin rights that allow us to take a look at different pages that are out there. We use this sometimes for troubleshooting. If people have questions, we can actually look on your page, help you make suggestions here. So this is a 4th grade teacher that is at Washington Center. And how she sets her page up is she actually does it by the day here. And then she has the subject areas here. So as you go through it, you can see that there's September 11th, the 12th, 19th, 17th, and then she just breaks it up into different subject areas here. I'm going to get down to one that she has a discussion board on. See if I can find it here. Oh, did I? And it should be reading interventions for Wednesday, October 31st. So this will give you an opportunity to kind of see what her assignment has been. So she wants her students to write a summary. She wants to include the 5 W's, who, what, where, when, why, and how. So as I go into it as the teacher itself, I'm going to see what the students have posted on the side here. And I'm looking for a particular student that I was looking through here earlier today. See if I can find him. He's back here. This Rory Bowder right here. So notice how he started out with his who, what, where, when, why, and how, and then he ended up with the summary. So it was like, well, why did he end up with that summary on there? Well, as we progressed and started looking at some of the discussions that the students were having, the students were making comments back to the other students like, hey, you did a great job, you may need to add a little bit more to it. Some of the students were saying you need to check your punctuation on it, and the kids actually went in and they took the peer review from the other students and they made changes to it. See if I can find him in here. She did, I don't see it on there. But it was based off of their input that allowed him to go in and make the changes on here. The teacher can actually rate it if they want. So if it's something that they want to use later on, they can actually come up here and click the 5 stars, 1 through 5 up here to tell what how we want it to be. The teacher can also respond. She can delete the post out within here. We can also look under our managed discussion. So like where I'm at right now, I'm looking at the Samantha Wingate, this first one that says that's great. If I come over to this little drop down here, I can select that. I can view the student's post, hide, I can delete it, or I can send that student a specific private message of, hey, maybe, you know, stay on task or whatever you have there. Capabilities that are within there. They can also mark them as read within the LMS itself, within the discussion board. You can just select new, next, and it just takes you to the next student post. So once the discussion takes place, maybe it's something on compare and contrast, maybe it's on narrative writing, who knows, maybe it's explain the math problem that you just did, doesn't matter. A teacher from home can sit there and actually just go through one at a time and do that. And give feedback on it, or edit within the discussion itself. So under the Manage Discussions tab, and I'm going a little bit deeper than I should, but I'm going to show you a few functions within here. If I say View Results, this is a useful tool here to see the number of posts that students responded to or what they had, but it also gives the teacher an opportunity to see who hasn't posted yet and a quick view. So here we can see Noah has not responded yet to it. You can set parameters on it as well as when you want it open and closed. And then whether or not they can do some other functions within that or within the settings of it. So that's just a little bit about the discussion side of it, discussion board side. Another thing that I want to look at, I need to get out of here, stop masquerading. Get back to where we were here. We talked a little bit about polls today, and you actually took a poll. This teacher in particular, which it could be any teacher out there that wants to do it, she did like a math problem to poll her students where they decided where they were at. So they started out with some simple problems, but then they got into some more complex problems, and then from that, she knew where she had to differentiate her instruction for the class and how to break it up with one another there. At that point, she had tiers where once they did the whole group instruction, they moved over to like the second tier where she knew what kids that she needed to work with. The rest of the students started to work on their LMS alone. She also states though, technology is not going to be the cure for everything. She doesn't do everything technology-wise. She just takes small pieces of it and embeds it within her lessons itself. So one of the things that we ask our curriculum department is, hey, can't we take some of these best practices that you folks are doing already out in the building and maybe incorporate some of those lessons into our writing of the curriculum as it goes, so there's value seen within that. So that's what we're looking at in our summer writing now. What can we do and actually to bring? You can share blocks, you can share pages. Once you create them, that's the power behind that third part, the interactive part. It's easy to pull in content that other people has created, and that way nobody has to reinvent the wheel. If you're working in small professional learning community groups, then maybe somebody takes a part of it, somebody else does something else. Another thing that I wanted to talk about for the digital assignments. If you go in and you can create an assignment, you can actually attach like Word documents to it. Like we mentioned earlier, it's the PDF side of it where we're having trouble, especially on our math side within our 6th grade math or middle school math. Because they want to be able to look at that document, they want to be able to take that tool, annotate on it, save it, and send it back electronically so they can do that. So there's some ways that you can do it, but they're not clean ways. You have your OneNote, you have Edge that has some tools, but it's clunky. We don't like clunkiness. We want some way that it flows evenly and easily so it makes teachers' life where they seem more easy instead of more cumbersome as we look at that. The last thing that I want to take a look at is I want to look at what our wiki pages are and what we could do with that. So here was an example of, I created a wiki page within our training. I just brought the wiki page, I copied it over to our LMS page here for our training today. I want to be able to view the project. Okay, select view project, here it comes up. So I should have given instructions, better instructions on there, like the Founding Fathers. It should have been, give me 3 traits or 3 items or artifacts that you know about the Founding Fathers, maybe where they lived, how long they were alive, or whatever you want to add in there. But the part that I want you to understand here on the wiki side of it, when we created our classes as a teacher and we had that nice blank page and we could start adding content in, this is the student side of it. Same thing. So if you create a wiki, it's like them creating a class page. At that point, you can create group wikis that groups of students can work on, or it can be a whole class thing, or it can be independent work itself. So how would we want to use something like that? Let's say that you had your parent-teacher conferences and you already had students that were on wikis and they were starting to build information in the background. Not necessarily the true e-portfolio side of it, but it does give you artifacts of evidence of what they've done within their classroom. So, once again, the heart of everything is under our add content block. They would have the same abilities as you folks would as a teacher to go in and create content, load video, pull in files, anything along those lines there. So, that's what I had. So any questions so far on that?
All right, it should be noted, the example that Rick used for Abby at Washington Center, that's Rick's school. We do have a feature called Subpages, and so Abby, rather than scroll through a mile long of those assignments she had on the left, she could do subpages, so that would clean it up a little bit.
Piggyback on that, the other thing she did, if you noticed, she didn't have all those published, so her kids would only see the certain ones probably for that date. So she's publishing them only on the dates that are available. So as bulky as that might look, a couple people kind of mumbling, but you're only going to see as a student the ones that are published, and you can set parameters for the time that it's published only on a certain date or whatnot.
So that's the LMS. That was a big chunk of what we wanted to cover today. And so a lot of us coordinators have already been out in your buildings and kind of done PL. I know I've gotten to about every building except one so far on LMS and the basics of how to do it, and then I'll come back for a second day. So we'll do that. If we haven't got to your building, connect with one of us. that is a plan for us to meet individually with the teachers. What I want to transition into now is some tools that we have that you guys can use right now. Not that you can't use the LMS right now, but some different tools that we have. And it should be noted, everything that we're doing, everything that we find that's new, that we get from curriculum or wherever, we vet it and want to make sure that that can work with the LMS. So we want this to be one place where students can go to learn as much as possible. So if you have a blog or whatever, we want it to be able to be brought over here so it's easier for them to navigate. I'm going to click on this tab over here called Land School and Apple Classroom. And so this is, these are two different pieces of software that we have. Apple Classroom is for our students in K through 2. What Apple Classroom allows the teacher to do is on their iPad, the teacher iPad, it allows them to see what's on every iPad of each one of your students. So you can see in this picture, we have the pictures of the students up there, but you get a little version of each of their iPads. You can lock them into something. So if they're on an app or a website, you can lock that. If you need their attention, you can freeze the screen and they can't do anything. You have full control over their iPad. The same thing, Land School, it's made by Lenovo, is a software that we have for our 3 through 12 PCs. So the teacher can have all their PCs, all the students in their classroom, their PCs on their laptop. You can send them out a message. You can freeze what they're doing. You can actually even send an audio chat to them and say, hey, what are you doing? We actually had someone do that at Irwin the other day. So you can send them a message. You can see what's going on in real time. If you have a website that's on your screen and you want that to go out to all their laptops, just click a button and it sends it out there. You can take what's on their screen, if you're connected to your screen beam on yours, and bring their content right up on the big screen here. So Apple Classroom is something you can do right now. We can help you with that. Over in the left here, we have a tab in our resources called Apple Classroom. So if you want to get going with that right away, you can do it. You can follow that. Land School requires the network technician and us to kind of work together to get that set up on each classroom. So it's kind of a one-by-one. We do that individually. So connect with your coordinator. If you have a teacher that says, oh, I would love to try that out, connect with them. And those two softwares can be used right now.
Steve,
yeah,
question
John.
On that.
Yeah.
Is Land School for Lenovo's only? And secondly, then, does that mean that the district is doing away with synchronized district license?
Good question. So as Land School, we have a lot of classrooms that still have HP 650s, don't have Lenovo touch device, and then Synchronize. Rick, do you want to answer that one? On Land School, is it just Lenovo's?
No, Land School can be used on any machine that we have in the district. We bought licenses for them. Now, we want to stay at the Lenovo side because Lenovo provides a free license for us.
So if John has
Land
HP
School.
desktops in his classroom,
You can have it on
he
there.
can still have it.
You can
Okay.
have it on there, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I would say that I think it replaces Synchronize, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, Synchronize was the old product that went away.
We all have individual projects we do. This Land School was Rick's project, that's why I deferred it to him.
All right, so we're kind of calling this the lightning round, where we're just going through a few different tools. Again, our focus is on the LMS, but these are tools. I don't want this to be lost on you, that you're thinking, oh my goodness, that we've got all these things we got to take back and show everybody. This is more just to have kind of some tools in your back pocket. And the next one I want to talk to you about is Adobe Spark. In 3.5, when iPads went away from 3.5 teachers, we had a lot of people say, you know, what do I use instead of iMovie? I was using iMovie and now I don't have anything like that. Adobe Spark is kind of where we want to direct you to, and it doesn't have to just be 3.5. K8, everybody that's in here, this could be used. So if you are on this page, if you could just answer this couple quick Spark questions real quick on my poll. Have you ever heard of Adobe Spark before today? Then question 2, have you ever used it either personally or professionally? Just give you about 30 seconds to do that.
I can't really say.
Siri said no.
Siri has never heard of it. So. See, I said iMovie, and she's like, no, you got to use iMovie. Not Siri. All right, so let me refresh this real quick, kind of see where we are at, or I might have to answer the poll actually here. I have heard of it before today. I'm presenting on it. Submit that one. Okay, about 21%, and then I've used it both personally. Okay. All right, so only one person has actually used it in the classroom, a couple people personally, and other people not having used it. 21% have actually heard of it. So these are live links. So if you click on these, you can actually go to the Adobe Spark page, set up a free account, and start using it. The nice thing about it is it's not just video. There's actually ways to create almost like flyers or posters and some other creative ways. It's kind of the Adobe platform. Again, it's the free version. There's going to be some things that you can't do, but it's very simple. So it's kind of the give and take, right? It doesn't have a ton of stuff in it, but that's great, especially for younger kids to be able to create things pretty quickly. And the nice thing too is you can embed anything you do in Adobe Spark. You can then put straight into the LMS. So using the embed the web feature that we talked about a little bit, you could put it right into the LMS. And this is actually a presentation. This is a link to a presentation that some of us saw at a tech conference recently, where this gal went through those 3 different parts of Spark and showed some practical uses in the classroom. So you can click right on that link and get some really good ideas there. So that would be something that if you want more information about, like a lot of this stuff, talk to your tech coordinator. We'd be happy to come in and either work with a grade level collaboration or do a PL some morning. So that is Spark. The other one I'm going to talk about real quick is just digital citizenship. So if you click on that link here on the left-hand side.
Quick question about Spark.
Yes, please.
Where you click on it to log in, is there some sort of teacher-student login account, or are we supposed to just set up our own with like Google or?
Yeah, right now it would just be logging in individually as yourself. In terms of getting students on it, that's,
okay.
This is kind of more of a creative thing for you to do. We're still kind of trying to figure out the logistics of how that works with possibly our 365 accounts, or if we're able to get students on there. The whole under 13 thing is always kind of an issue that we run into, but wanted to kind of just give you a heads up on that. Good question. Anybody else? Okay, so digital citizenship. 3 different options here. I'd say one thing that we talk about a lot is with digital citizenship, are we doing it just to be in compliance for some of the different things that we have to do, or is this really something that we're focusing on with our kids? Is we're putting these powerful tools in the hands of our students. Personally, myself, I'm becoming more and more convicted. Maybe it's because my kids are younger and growing up now, thinking of just all of the junk that's out there. And how do we really teach kids to be digital citizens, to be responsible with the technology that they have? So, obviously we're doing some stuff within learning.com. There's some other tools that teachers have used as well, talking about cyberbullying. But here's just some other options. If you have people at your school that want to dig deeper, this is a program called Be Internet Awesome, and has some really good curriculum behind it. This link right here is to even a video game called Interland, where kids are kind of learning as they're playing a game about some different concepts around digital citizenship. Common Sense Media, you're probably familiar with, but they have an extension of that called Common Sense Education that has a lot of really good stuff on it. This link here on the right side has reviews for EdTech resources, can give you some good ideas, and also find things that are safe. Somebody found Interland, I think. But so these are two links that can take you just to the main Common Sense Education page, or then even to look at some of those EdTech reviews and resources. And then kind of around the concept of computer science, we talked about that a little bit, and Shannon's going to share something here in a minute about Hour of Code coming up, but CS First is another option. So, we have people using Hour of Code, but we've had some schools that are saying, give me more. My kids are really latching on to this coding stuff. What else is there? Here's another option for you that I wanted to throw out there as well. Shannon is going to now come and talk about Hour of Code.
So coming up the week of December 9th through 13th, if you weren't aware, is Computer Science Education Week, and that is the week that Hour of Code from code.org is taking place. And this is sort of, we're using it as an opportunity for those students who aren't a part of the computer science curriculum in grades 3 through 6 to get an opportunity to experience coding. So really it's not a mandatory event, but it is optional for you to kind of promote in your buildings to just take an hour of time or a class period. It doesn't have to be a full hour, but a chance for those students who aren't doing those programs to get a chance to code. And it's really easy. You don't need to sign all your kids up. You can sign up so you're officially counted, but really it's just giving them exposure or experience with coding. So check that out, share that with the teachers in your building, let them know that that is happening coming up in the next week. The last thing that we wanted to kind of share with you before the Q&A is that we're excited to share that in July we are having our first kind of technology-based day or conference, you can call it. We're trying to make it feel like it's called Ignite, and it's going to be a conference just for Fort Wayne Community Schools teachers to come in and get some information or resources on how to integrate technology into their classroom. So
Except that little guy. I want that little guy to be able to come.
So it's going to be breakout sessions where you can kind of pick the topic that you're interested in throughout the day. So not only are we just telling you so you can kind of save the date, our tentative date right now is July 16th. You want to write that down, but we're going to be putting call out for people in your buildings for you to be presenters as well as attendees. So kind of be thinking about what you're doing in your building that's innovative, that could be shared. That would be a really great resource for other teachers in our district as a way to collaborate and learn from each other. So it's going to be announced. We're still working on the details, but we just want to kind of get the word out there as you're planning summer events.
It'll be in Fort Wayne.
Yeah,
It'll be at a Fort Wayne Community Schools location.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 28.
Okay, so that's kind of our year. We'll meet with you guys again a couple times before then, obviously. So Rachel, robotics, coding, anything like that, you want to lead a session, Rachel's going to volunteer for that, definitely. Not that anybody can't help her, but she's awesome at that. So we just really thank you guys. We want you to be our ambassadors out there in the classroom, you know, working with your teachers. Let's rely on the network techs, you know, if we have any hardware repairs or anything like that. Tell the people to put a ticket in, you know.
I got to add just
yeah. What's that? Yeah. So we'll do that. Rick?
I wanted to add that computer science week does kick off next week. So the hour of code should be, that's for 2019.
Sorry.
Oh, did we put the wrong link there?
So it's actually
Yeah, so it's actually next week. Yep.
Be prepared for 2019.
Yeah. You're ahead of it.
We started 5 minutes late, so we have 4 minutes left. Questions and answers. I promised people 60 minutes. Yeah, right? 60 minutes is what I said. I wouldn't keep you 61. So questions, answers. What are good things? What do you guys need help with? Yes.
How do you okay, so I'm a co-teacher in a classroom, and when my teacher that I work with combined his classes for his math, like I disappeared as the co-teacher from it. So how do I get added back as the co-teacher? Is that a way he can do it, or is that like we have to enter a help desk?
Yep, we can do that, right?
We can help you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. So co-teacher got lost. We need to recreate that connection, right? Yep, we can do that. So, good question. Any others?
From a management piece,
John.
as far as being a coordinator, how is information supposed to be given to buildings? Because I feel like the one-to-one, you're the first person I've heard officially say that from a tech coordinator capacity that we're going officially to one-to-one. Other than I'm hearing from rumors that I hear from network administrators. So where is the communication link between the district tech coordinators and the building tech coordinators to know what's going on in the basement and curriculum, and to really kind of keep us in the loop of what we need to be telling teachers when they're coming to us and they're saying, well, I don't understand why the district's doing this. We don't have any answers.
Well, as far as the one-to-one goes, I can say that Matt does all the meetings with every month. The principals have a meeting. He does all the elementary principal meetings. I do all the secondary meetings, and so we've talked to them about one-to-one multiple times. So the principals should know that. We coordinate with them a lot, and I know Jack Bird, our director, he is in every leadership with the principals and displaying that same message. So I'd probably check with the principal on that to see.
That's just an example though, but I mean there's information that should be coming to coordinators of buildings that only us geeks,
Yeah.
you know, would really, would make sense to us, but I don't feel like we're getting any of that information.
I would say, I think it's important for the communication between you and one of us, your district technology coordinator. Many of my buildings, we've set up monthly meetings, so if you do not have something set up with your area technology coordinator, getting something like that set up, bringing the principal into that so the communication is there, and even the network tech. I mean, communication, relationships are key in all of this, and I agree with you. We have pockets where the communication is a lot better, and so that needs to be a back and forth relationship, that setting up a monthly meeting and making sure that we're all on the same page to cover some of those things.
Any other questions? Yeah.
How can we see an example of a page that a parent sees? Like, you know that it's got the icons that say that, you know, it's not available, but can we see like what they can see some way? Is there a way to?
There, you can see, if you go to like manage class, you can see student view, and there's not a parent view that you can look at, but there is a document. If you go to the PowerSchool knowledge base and type in like what can a parent see, it will show you like the level that they can see. So they could see that you posted a discussion board, but they couldn't read any of the student responses. So their level is just like a step back from what students see.
In that document, you were talking about, we'll post that on our main technology resources page.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't have to go hunt for it. We'll put
And
that
then
on.
how can parents get access?
Yeah, so what we want to make sure, the principal has to send out the parent codes. So once the principal gives us the sign off to turn those on, we tell Jack and he flips the switch on that school. What we wanted to be careful about was we had one school that sent out the parent codes and we didn't have any classes built. None of the teachers had class pages, so the parents went to the page and there was nothing there. So we want to make sure that your staff has those pages built before we send out the parent codes.
So specifically,
you guys are
Kelly, that comes from PowerSchool, and it's under reports. There's a function called FWCS reports.
In the PowerSchool SIS?
In the PowerSchool SIS, yeah. So
Okay.
your secretary or principal will have access to print that out. And then under under reports, there's an FWCS report, and then there's like a miscellaneous report that takes you to that.
And it'll print the Pinnacle and the
Yes.
PowerSchool code.
On the same page?
Yeah, on
Yes.
the same page.
Which could
Yeah,
be
I'm
a
sorry.
lot of pages.
Yes.
I mean,
They-
yeah, because we have multiple.
But there's options to print them out either by class, by teacher, by
Oh,
grade
okay,
level,
that would
so
be better.
there's options.
Yeah, question.
I think he might have been, so do they have to turn it on for the whole school? Like, cause I have at least half the teachers in my building who are very resistant. But then I have a bunch of teachers who are using
Okay.
it.
Yes, you can have them, like I was saying to Kelly, you can print them by grade level, by classroom teacher. So if you're not ready for everybody to have them, you could just do that. If your secretary can't figure that out, get in touch with me, with that coordinator.
So the why behind that, the big part is, the board's big on having that parent-teacher communication level. The LMS gives you like a window into the classroom, so they love that part. If you could post, this is what we're doing this week, these are some of the things that we're covering, just under your general teacher page. So, just a window, just an opportunity as an outreach.
Any other-
Thank you guys. We appreciate
Yep.
what you do.
Thank you
very much.
Andy.
Follow up earlier. You too. Our PBT Rock is supposed to be on one of these websites. And there is 10. It's like a 5-day one.
I might have to be written all that out. That's why I wondered if I was my class. It makes more sense.
I played with Canva, but haven't been